What's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave. Happy holidays, everyone. All right, and shout out to everyone that was here yesterday on the live commentary that I did for the Day of Reckoning. The Day of Reckoning card overall was a success. I think that this year was a success. I can't wait to do a year wrap up video. We really needed a year like this in boxing. There was a lot of upsets. There was a lot of exposures. But, there were a lot of good wins, great, phenomenal wins as well. A lot of good matchups. There was too many pay-per-views, and boxing was very expensive this year. But it was worth it. Overall, I think this is one of the better boxing years ever, period. So the Day of Reckoning happened yesterday. Deontay Wilder fought Joseph Parker. And what I'll say is that Deontay Wilder didn't look great. And Joseph Parker looked like he was at his best. And one thing what I will say before we jump the gun, because I'm going to talk a little bit about Anthony Joshua and his fight with Alto Wallin, but I'm going to get more to him in the video I do about him. But people overlook the actual matchup. You got to understand that we always overlook the matchup itself and the styles. We got to focus more on that. Get out of your emotions for a second, okay? Not every fight is going to look the same. Some fighters they match up well with other fighters better than others. You know what I mean? Some fighters, they might not have as good of a resume than your last opponent, but they might do better than you simply because it's just the matchup itself. It favors them a little bit more, So, Joseph Parker, he's had his ups and downs. I remember hearing people and reading people say that he was done after the Dillian White fight. All right, and that was years ago now. He lost to Joseph Parker lost to Anthony Joshua. Went on to fight Dillian White in his very next fight. Lost that fight too, right? Had a strong finish, but lost the fight. And there were periods where Joseph Parker didn't really look that good. Let me just go down the list. I remember fighting. He's fought Alexander Flores and Alex Leopai and Shondell Winters and in these fights he didn't look great. He fought Junior Fa. There were certain fights here that he just didn't look good. First Derek Chisora fight, he didn't look good, and people were saying that he was washed up. And then when he lost and got stopped by Joe Joyce, people were really saying he was done. Some people were saying he should retire. People were saying that he was washed up. He comes back, fights a few tune-ups, right? Because these fights in between the Joe Joyce loss and the Deontay Wilder win were tune-up fights. All right, these are not his top fights. His top fights are Derek Chisora, Dillian White, Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz, Carlos Takam even. Those are his top fights. Deontay Wilder. So people have been saying he's washed up. So before we say that Wilder just lost his fight because he was inactive or because he was old, let's not even go there. That's the problem. You got to look at the matchup. Joseph Parker was the quickest fighter that Deontay Wilder ever fought in his career. Maybe you couldn't get the timing down because he never fought anyone as quick as Joseph Parker. I'm talking about legs and feet, especially for this particular fight. This is the best we've seen him look. I've said prior to the fight that Joseph Parker hasn't looked like he had the same hand speed that he had at one time. I've been saying for years that him and Andy Ruiz had the quickest hands in the heavyweight division in this past decade. How many times have I said it? But there were times where Joseph Parker started gaining weight, didn't have the same kind of hand speed. But we know that when he was a prospect, when AJ was a prospect, when Dillian White was prospects, and everybody was talking about those three, Joseph Parker had the hand speed. Dillian White was the body snatcher. He was going to the body early on in his prospect years. and Joshua was the big puncher. He was the big man out of the trio. But at some point, I wasn't seeing that same hand speed with Parker, but I saw it last night when he fought Deontay Wilder. And Wilder's always been pretty quick. Everybody said that speed, his power, his reflexes is what led him to get to this stage, to this point. Being a champion, having all those title defenses, it's based on the quick, the speed and the power, the explosiveness, not because of the IQ, not the boxing ability. It was never that. And he improved. When I say he improved, he's improved over the years in knowing how to time and land the same one punch. But he wasn't improving on his boxing overall. He was improving on different ways to land that one punch, to time that one punch. There is a difference. It was a difference. And his time ran out, but he kept getting by because he kept getting outboxed by certain fighters, but he would land the punch. Eventually, he would land the punch. That's why it was hard to pick against him. Even when I picked against him at times, I was wrong. There was time I picked for him, and he won. Even though if he didn't look good, he won simply because he always landed the big punch at some point. At some point, it came. His power showed up. His power saved him out of a lot of fights. But this is not just from last night. It's not because he's 38 years old. He was doing what he would normally do. But unlike Parker and all his other fights, he displayed great defense. He showed up. He got out of the way from the right hand. The right hand was so predictable to him. He ducked underneath it every single time, very casually. He made it look easy. You guys got to understand. Get out of your feelings, because I'm seeing what people are saying already. I already see it. It's like you got to get out of the delusion. Get out of it. This is boxing. Feel how you want to feel. And this goes to Wilder too. Because Wilder was the one that was saying that Joseph Parker was ducking him. That everybody was ducking him. Everybody believed that bullshit. Everybody was saying, the man, and I'm talking about Deontay, the man went on Twitter himself and said that he got offered more money to fight Joshua over Tyson Fury. But Tyson Fury wanted to run away with his belt after he lost to him in a rematch. He said it his belt. It doesn't matter, you as a fan, how you feel. The man said it on Twitter himself. He got offered more to fight Joshua. And he settled in giving Tyson Fury the opportunity. He gave Fury the opportunity when he didn't have to. Why? He said it. Not you, not you, not you. He said it. So Wilder's going around this week at the presser saying that Joseph Parker and others have been avoiding him all this year. That's bullshit. Joseph Parker is the second best fighter you fought after Tyson Fury. The second best. And you've had struggle. It's not, and I say it's not just the age. I'm not saying the age and inactivity doesn't have anything to do with it. But what I'm going to tell you was more effective here is the fact that you didn't improve on your skills because you kept winning the same way. You didn't build on your arsenal. You stayed the same because it kept working for you. And when it didn't work against Tyson Fury, you guys just claimed him to be the king or said that he cheated. He cheated. Like a sore loser. You made excuses, said it was your costume, said it was your coach, said your water was spiked. You said all of this stuff. Except for, I need to improve and expand on my game. There was zero accountability. Zero. And I said this years ago. These are 4, 5, 6 years of videos, 10 years. My first video about Deontay Wilder was 10 years ago. And I said back then, I hope he just doesn't have the right hand. Hopefully he can expand on his game. I said this 10 years ago. Where were you guys? And it finally showed the other day, but it's been showing. And that's the argument that I wanted to prove here in this video. It's been showing. You go down his resume, you go down all his fights. I don't even have to go prior to him being a champion. I can just go down the list because I've seen all of these fights. Some of them I'm into. I've seen all these fights since he fought Burmester Vern, the first guy to go the distance to him, Burmester Vern. If you look at Burmester, no, let's start at Billy Scott there. Because can we all sit here and just admit that this guy took a dive? I said this back then. Malik Scott took a dive. Malik Scott at that time, because I did a video on it back then, Malik Scott at that time was a step-up fight for Deontay Wilder. He had just beaten Nikolai Furter. That was in 2013. I made a video about Wilder and Nikolai Furter in 2013. I made a video about it back then. He fought Malik Scott. I did a breakdown for that fight. Malik Scott at that time only had one loss. That was a step-up fight. And Malik Scott took a dive. How are you supposed to improve as a fighter if your best friend, who we didn't know was his boy like that? We knew that they were cool. We didn't know that they were like this. But now we do. He took a dive. He fights Burmester Vern for the championship. Good fight. He won the title fair and square. Good fight. Solid. No hate in there. Eric Molina. How many times Eric Molina, he beat Eric Molina. He stops Eric Molina. But Eric Molina hurt him. He got hurt in that fight. He got hit a couple of times in that fight. If Anthony Joshua got hurt by Eric Molina, he would have never heard the end of it. The standards change for every fighter. Wilder was going to war with guys like Johan Duhaupas. All right, Johan Duhaupas had his eye like this. So he didn't get exposed yesterday. He's been having tough fights throughout his career against lower level opposition. Throughout his whole career. Arthur Spilka winning. In my opinion, I thought Wilder was swinging and missing these crazy wild shots. None of you guys are going to admit it now. But remember watching the fight then. We saw in that fight there that he couldn't box. But what happened? He got saved again by the right hand. But he was getting outboxed by Arthur Spilka. Who did Arthur Spilka lose to prior to that? He was already stopped by what's his face? Brian Jennings. Easy work. But Wilder struggled against him. Gerald Washington got knocked out in the 5th round. Gerald Washington won the first 4 rounds. Severn rematch. Why did that even happen? Severn didn't do shit. Severn lost to Wilder, went on and beat Derek Rossi, and then went 2 years without a fight and got Wilder in a rematch. Why did that fight even happen? Wilder was not exposed last night. Wilder was properly matched up for years. I love the guy. I love watching his fights. But I'm not a fool. This guy is fighting tomato cans. He is fighting people that he is going to knock out easy. These issues that you saw last night against Joseph Parker were exposed years ago. It's just that these guys didn't have the skills to avoid the right hand. Luis Ortiz almost did it. Almost. And in the minute that Wilder got hurt in that first fight, what did they do? Give him time in between rounds. to recover. Luis Ortiz almost did it. But Wilder did his thing. I ain't gonna lie. Wilder did his thing. I picked Wilder to lose that one. I think that was the first fight I picked against him. I was wrong there. Ortiz got Wilder beat him. Wilder beat the better boxer to me. He beat a dangerous, hard-punching boxer. But Luis Ortiz didn't beat anybody. Let's just make that clear. He didn't beat anyone. He beat Charles Martin. That's his best win. He beat Charles Martin after everybody else had already. You know what I mean? Like, cherry picks Tyson Fury in the first fight. Tyson's just getting back. I mean, must I go on? Like, you beat and knocked out Robert Helenius, and this guy was part of your camp preparing for Tyson Fury. That's your boy. Of course you knocked him out in the first round. You know how to do fights. Like at the end of the day, and this was my prediction, Joseph Parker wins on points, Wilder wins by knockouts. I picked Wilder because I felt like at some point Joseph Parker is going to get hit with the right hand. Joseph Parker, I underestimated him because Joseph Parker came in at his very best. He was quick on his feet. He closed the gap on Wilder quickly. Wilder couldn't get the timing right. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And every time he did, there was points. Listen, I know people felt like he was rusty. I'm not saying he wasn't rusty. But every time he tried to throw the right hand, the man ducked underneath it. He saw it coming from a mile away. Why? Because Fury was just doing the same thing. The only difference is Parker did it even better. That's his man's. I'm sure they prepared for this. All Parker had to do to win this fight is defense. Avoid the right hand. Avoid the right hand. It's a little different than preparing for Joe Joyce or Anthony Joshua. They have more tools. They box better. I know Joe Joyce is very clumsy, but the guy has a jab that is just, it's a problem. Where was Wilder's jab? The jab is only there to close the gap, to land the right hand. That's it. That's it. He could do it from long range or he can time. That's what he was doing. He was circling the ring. He was moving around. He was waiting for Parker to lunge in so he could throw the short right hand. He did it at some point, and it was a good shot. And it was the first round that I was going. I can't remember. I don't know if it was 7th or 8th round. It was the first round I was going to give to Wilder until Joseph Park slapped him with that big overhand right and had him in the corner, not knowing what to do with himself. Started looking like the Fury fight. I mean, this was always a problem. And I've always said this. See, I can say this because I have the receipts. What does Wilder do if he can't get a knockout? What does he do? What does he do? Luckily for him, he caught Fury in that 12th round in that first fight. Because outside of that, he was losing the fight. He was getting outboxed. What does a man do if he can't score a knockout? This has always been a problem. This is not rust. This is not age. This has been a problem for at least the last 10 years. And if they keep placing you with people that they know you're going to beat, regardless of you struggling, you struggle against lower tier fighters. And some of you, him included, because I have to get at him because he's the one with the costume issues. He was the one that said that his drink was spiked. He was saying that he was feeling weak and all of this stuff. He was saying that. He was saying that the guy's gloves was loaded with all of this stuff. He was saying that. And the fans were saying that. His fans were saying that. And then this week, he's saying that Joseph Parker is avoiding him. He's talking about Joshua all month on social media. Every time Joshua is sitting at the table with him, dude stuttering in his words. He don't even want to talk to him. He can't even look at him. He's been exposed. He's a fun fighter to watch. The knockouts were crazy. He's had some of the power is real. I don't think the power is fake. I think the power is real. The thing is, it's only one way to land it. He's developed other ways in timing and landing that one punch. But if he can't get you out of there, he cannot box. He is not going to win rounds. There is no plan B. So when he couldn't land it against Joseph Parker, what did he keep doing? Throwing it over. It's going to land at some point. That's what happened with Fury. He got lucky because it landed in the 12th round, and they gave him a draw. They gave him a draw because he got dropped twice. But there was no other game plan. There was no adjustments. This has been a problem. It wasn't just a problem last night. It was a problem last night because he lost and he couldn't knock the guy out. But it's been a problem in his career. No, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he should retire. I'm not going to do that. All right, because he can still make money off his name. But what I will say is he should have developed more to his game. He kept getting by fighting the same way. And when he did finally lose, and then when he did get exposed by Tyson Fury, what happened? He cheated. No kind of accountability. Let's not improve in our game. Let's just work on other ways on landing the right hand. And that's it. There's nothing else to say. So I don't think he should retire. I mean, it's kind of hard. So what I will say is this. He is still fast, and he still has the power to give a lot of issues to a lot of other heavyweights. Joe Parker won simply because he knew how to get out of the way of the right hand, and he also had the speed that threw off Wilder. So I will say that most of these fighters can't do what Parker did the other night. You know, Joe Joyce stopped Parker. Can Joe Joyce get out of the way of that right hand the way that Parker did? I don't know. You know, I don't know. And I don't think he can. But what I will say, he's durable. I know Zhang stopped him, but again, styles make fights. So I don't think he can retire or he should retire. If Anthony Joshua is still willing to face him, that's cool. But it's like I'm 50-50 with that because I, as a fan, want to see the fight. But I know if Joshua beats him, he's not going to get any credit because all the Wilder fans are saying he's 38 years old. That's the reason why he lost. Or he was rusty. That's the reason why he lost. He's not going to get any credit. So if Joshua beats him now, they're going to still say, well, Joshua avoided him. He didn't give him the $50 million. He didn't take the $50 million when the $50 million was offered. That's all they're going to say. They have nothing else to say. What about the fact that Wilder prior to that got offered 12 times the amount or 7, I don't remember how many times the amount to fight Joshua prior to that? What about the $100 million plus million he was offered after that? He turned down $50 million, but then he offered you over 100. We can go all day with that. But we all know that you confirmed on your own Twitter that they offered you more money to fight Tyson Fury. And you went with Fury anyway. And I made a video about this already. Since race was such a big issue, why would you give Fury the opportunity? Why? What are you doing him a favor for? For what? You made him hot. Fury got hot off Wilder. Fury left. You made him hot by giving him the opportunity. Why didn't you fight AJ? You and AJ should have fought each other. You two at one point held all the belts. So Wilder can still fight. but the credibility has been damaged. If you look at his resume, and I went down it just now, he literally lost to the two best fighters that he faced. He lost to the two most credible champions that he lost to. I mean, he fought, he lost to. Because he didn't, Shelly Finkel didn't want him to fight Klitschko. That's already been confirmed. We're talking about back then. The only other credible name, the most credible name on his resume that he would have fought was with Povetkin. But I'm not blaming Wilder for that, because Povetkin got caught up with the drug shit. And as much as people on here trying to make it seem like, oh, it was just traces and all of that stuff, well, the guy went and failed the test right after that. So that's on Povetkin. But that would have been Wilder's best fight, by far. You know, Povetkin was probably the only fighter that might have had a better resume than Joseph Parker. Yeah. All right, but Tyson Fury is number one, and you lost to both. Parker and Fury. You lost to both of them. All right, so yes, Wilder did get exposed, but he's been exposed. He's been exposed. I think just the fight last night just put the icing in the cake. And you finally fought a guy that you finally fought another guy that knew how to avoid your right hand, and you didn't know how to adjust to it at all. You know, so all you guys that talk shit about Anthony Joshua over the years, yes, he got stopped, and yes, he did lose to an undefeated pound for pound fighter that's a southpaw, and yes, he did lose to that guy. But you know what? I've seen AJ down and hurt and losing, and him making adjustments to win a fight. I can say that he made adjustments to win a fight. I cannot say I've seen that with Wilder. Wilder kept doing the same thing until the punch finally landed. And it didn't land this time. So he lost the fight. So anyway, again, if AJ wants to fight him, cool. It's still cool. It's still a good fight. It's still a good fight. You know, I think for people that support AJ, they're gonna want AJ to try to knock him out. And then for people that support Wilder, they're still gonna want him to redeem himself. And he would if he were able to knock out AJ. You know? I don't know who else there really is for Wilder. But I will say that Wilder, at the bare minimum, should stay active. You know? Just don't go a long period of time. Like, fight on the next card. If they have a day of reckoning too, get on that undercard. You know, maybe they'll put you in there with Triple D. You know, maybe they'll put you in there with someone else that is decent enough to get respect for pulling off the win. You know, but no more like pre-planned knockout fights. Like, no, that's it. It's over. And get back in the ring. The inactivity, you shouldn't be going 2 years with fighting one round. That's ridiculous, but that's a PBC issue. All right. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I know a lot of people are gonna get pissed off, but I've been there already with this thing with Wilder. All right. I'm out of here. Subscribe to the channel. Peace.